Hello and welcome back to the channel once again. As the second beta weekend of Bleeding Edge is in full swing and we're all enjoying the game again, I thought a look at every super in the game was certainly in order, alongside every mod too, and every super to help you choose which to use, and of course, which is best too. We're going to jump straight in from the top with the DPS characters. Demon uses two very effective supers, Shadow Strike and Death Mark. Shadow Strike deals damage to enemies in an area on use, which is much more effective if used on a single target. This super has iframes and can be used to avoid damage or even delay enemies. It's easy to jump out of this, however, which is a big weakness for this super. Death Mark targets an enemy, letting you deal more damage to them while it's marked. Plus, it'll reset on kill if you land a kill during the mark, so you can use it again instantly, which is insane for killing squishies or healers or winning fights. Both are great overall, but I've always found Death Mark to be much more effective at winning those fights since it's just more consistent. Mods can reduce all healing on a marked target by 50% or increase its duration by 2.5 seconds. I strongly advise you get the Heal Cut mod for this. While Shadow Strike can be modded for 2% max HP on targets hit for every hit, or a 20% increase on duration, which is certainly good for saving your own life, but I still think the mark is stronger overall. Moving on for Gizmo, we get the Mini Mech and Rocket. Mini Mech powers you up in an obvious mini mech, giving you a big HP pool and also a flamethrower for AoE overtime damage. Seriously strong and life-saving if used when you're low to suddenly get that big health pool. Meanwhile, Rocket lets you ride a rocket for a small amount of time, dealing big damage to any target that you hit, although it is really easy to dodge, but if it does hit, it's going to do a lot. Whatever the case, it puts you right in the brunt of the fight, quite literally putting you in melee range, which is a bad idea for a squishy range DPS. It seems counterproductive to me. Mods can increase the rocket damage by 15% or even give it infinite travel time, while the mini-mech gets more fuel for its flamethrower, a bigger shield, or even increased duration. In general, mini-mech all the way across the sky for me. It's too useful, extremely strong in every situation, while rocket can and will backfire and is certainly more situational. Next up, we've got Nidhogger. This one is very straightforward for me. Ride the Lightning gives you a powerful AoE stun that deals damage to, while Death Growl is an AoE silence. In PvP, it's simple. Stuns are better than silences or roots every time. Unfortunately, the silence just doesn't last that long to even compare it to the stun of the Lightning ult. Even with mods, the cooldown of Death Growl being reduced by 15% is not all that much, and having the radius up by 30% doesn't seem to really impact quite as much as the Lightning, which can raise its damage by 20% with modding or increase the duration of the stun by 1 full second. Lightning is just stronger in most situations because it can stun. The only drawback is, yes, you're CCing yourself while you use it, but the stun is literally game winning when used correctly. You could CC the entire enemy team with this. Moving swiftly on, our mage Maeve has an interesting situation for both of her supers. Toil and Trouble is a channeled, slow moving orb that deals insane damage if it does hit, and I mean if it hits. You've got to send it at people who aren't paying attention, and then also cage them while it's traveling to them. Otherwise, it's just so easy to avoid by breaking line of sight or just interrupting her channel with any damage during the cast. Meanwhile, PEEK-A-BREW will teleport you to an enemy of your choice from anywhere on the map. Actually, it's global. It'll stun them and anyone near them, which is kind of awkward because you're like a squishy mage who wants to maintain distance normally. Both these supers become much better with mods. In fact, I'd struggle to run either of these properly without the mods. For Toil, you can increase its damage by 15% or up the explosion radius by 50%. Both are great, but anything that makes this ult land more often is going to be key. For PEEK-A-BREW, you gain a 20% increased damage buff per target stunned for 4 seconds. So if you hit 4 targets, you get an 80% increase of damage. That's huge, because you could hit a whole team with this and then instantly kill their healer with this buff. Without mods, both kinda suck. With mods, they can be ridiculous. I think I'd go with PEEK-A-BREW for more consistent results, however. Finally, our last DPS, Cass. We've got Dive Bomb and Blade Dance. Dive Bomb itself gives you a long window of iframes that can be used to dodge damage or even save your life. The damage it does is pretty shockingly low, however, while Blade Dance is nuts. insane damage over time on a mobile AoE ultimate. Perhaps the best super in the game for any DPS. You can be stunned out of it, but the damage that it does is so insane, especially if you pair it up with any CC or distraction from your team, so it's really easy to use this to win fights. Modded, Dive Bomb can do 30% more damage, which certainly helps, or increase the stun by 1 second, or even recover your HP every second that you're hanging about in that super, which is pretty cool. While Blade Dance modded could give you a 25% damage resistance during the ult, or even more damage with a 25% damage increase to the super, which is insane. I do like the self-preservation of the modded Dive Bomb, but damn, you cannot ignore Blade Dance, especially with a damage buff. It is so good. Time to move on to the healers now. Starting with Miko, we've got Life Force and Stalker. Life Force is a burst heal that can be swapped from ally to ally you channel over time, and the output of this heal is super high, saving pretty much anyone in every situation. While Stalker will provide you with an AoE stealth for you and your team, you'll heal slightly in the stealth, and then also reveal all other enemies in stealth like Demon or Mave. Stalker certainly has benefits, but it's a bit situational, while Life Force is always a lifesaver. Modded, Life Force can heal you for 20% of the healing that you give to an ally, which is huge, or you can increase its duration by 3 seconds, or even make the target ally invulnerable for 2.5 seconds as it's first activated, which really secures that life-saving play. While Stalker can only really increase its duration by 3 seconds, it's not very good. This has got to be Life Force for me, modded or unmodded. It's just much more reliable. Next up is Kulve, our cool AF snake controlling a corpse. He's got Bamboozle and Boon. Bamboozle lets you mind control an enemy for a few seconds and force them into bad situations, such as off the edge of a map or into environmentals. You could even just walk them into your team while they're unable to save themselves. If that's a healer, that can be awesome. While Boon will buff up an ally, giving them 25% more damage, 15% defense, and also 25% speed up. Give this to, say, a demon or any DPS really at the right time, and it can be pretty game winning. Modded, you could make Boon give another 20% damage on top of that 25%, which is big, or increase its duration by 3 seconds, or even make it so allies near the Booned target get 10% damage themselves, which is really good in clumped up situations. Bamboozle, however, can get a 50% damage resistance to keep you safe while you're using it, or reduce that slow on a mind controlled target by 45%. In general, Bamboozle can be great, while Boon is always good. I definitely say you should be running Boon with friends or teams that you can work with, but if you're super solo queue, there's nothing wrong with bamboozling someone. And finally, our last healer, Zero Cool. He's got Upgrade Protection and 1-Up. Upgrade Protection gives you and all nearby allies armor, while 1-Up will provide an ally an instant revive upon death. Both are okay. I'd say the shield will save more lives since you're going to keep yourself alive while you heal everyone. And, well, 1-Up rarely sees effect because you've got so much healing output you can keep everyone alive anyway as Zero Cool. The shield will save you, allowing you to stay alive and keep healing the team, and I just think that's more important. Modded, 1-Up's charge can start back at 60% if it doesn't see use, or just have the duration of the effect last 4 more seconds, while Upgrade Protection can get an 83% defense increase or 50% increase on the radius. I definitely go with Upgrade Protection with that 83% increase on the defense, which is pretty insane. Now we can move on to the last class, the tanks. Starting up with the one and only El Bastardo. We've got Overload and Unbreakable. Overload deals damage to enemies near you while it's active for a short time. Shockingly good, it lets this tank solo kill squishies or even healers, which can be very big for a fight. While Unbreakable gives you immunity to death temporarily, and at first to me, Unbreakable kind of stood out to me as best, since you can really delay enemies by using this at the right time. You can actually recover from 1 HP situations with Unbreakable by making good use of his shields and his lifesteal after it runs out. Both are pretty good, but generally I found Overload easier to use consistently because Unbreakable is pretty situational. Modded, Unbreakable can have an extra 150 to the shield or a 2-second extra duration, while Overload can have an extra 20% damage or 2.5 seconds longer on its effect. I definitely go for the damage on Overload to help me kill those healers. Next up, Buttercup is Buttercup with Turbocharged and Burnout. Turbocharged gives a big old buff, 25% damage up, 50% lifesteal, and 33% more max health too, which is nuts. This is always good. Burnout is a big burst damage AoE, which will also knock enemies away from you. It's kind of situationally good, and can certainly finish off low health targets suddenly. Modded, Burnout can get an extra 25% damage, while Turbocharged can get 3% more seconds on its duration, or another 50% more lifesteal. Overall, Burnout can be good at certain times, while Turbocharged will always be good. It's more duration, or even the 50% more lifesteal make it even better. You've got to be charged up, man. Makuno gets his Katamori roll and can't touch us. Kata lets you disrupt enemies for low damage and boop them around and kind of cause a disrupting mess. It's pretty fun and looks great, but honestly, it's not all that effective, sadly. While Can't Touch Us will save lives by making you and allies near you immune to damage temporarily. You can actually use this at the right time to cancel out big damage of someone like Cass or Demon using a super, activating it right as they're trying to maximize their damage, which is fantastic. Modded, Kata's roll can get 25% more damage or just last 2 seconds longer, while Can't Touch Us gets an insane mod where the charge rate goes up by 25% permanently. That is so good. Modded Can't Touch Us is probably one of the best ultimates in the game. Finally, our last and newest addition to the game, Meko. Right now, I've had to use official footage because he wasn't actually in the first beta when I recorded all of this. A ranged tank is very interesting, with his supers being Sonic Barrage and Exclusion Bubble. Barrage will knock enemies away and deal damage in a cone in front of you, while the bubble will trap an enemy. While they're in that bubble, they can't take damage from any source, and the enemy team can help them break out to get them free, but this is a really good distraction, and a very solid, reliable CC on perhaps a healer or saving a teammate by peeling an enemy off them. For me, it's definitely got to be the bubble here, but maybe with mods, Barrage can be made much more effective by comparison. Well, there you go. That's all the supers for every character with mods in mind in Bleeding Edge. I am exhausted. I hope that was interesting and useful. It was a lot of effort on my part. What do you think about my suggestions? Maybe with good coordination, some supers here that I don't think are great might be particularly effective. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and I certainly hope you're enjoying the Bleeding Edge Beta 2. See you next time, guys.